Narcisse has been part of my life for as long as I can remember. Narcisse and my dad grew up together. They were brothers. And in a lot of ways, they're very similar. Narcisse always told these really stupid jokes, these really cheesy jokes. We used to call them dad jokes. And then he'd laugh at his own jokes. And my dad does the same thing too. I know they were really good friends, more than brothers. They were great friends growing up, and they spent a lot of time together. My dad and Narcisse joined the horns together, and so because of that, I spent a lot of time around Narcisse growing up. I always thought he was a funny guy. He always had some joke to tell or some funny story to tell. And then after I got married, Ryan and Narcisse started working together. And they've been working together for, I think, about 15 years now. And they worked so closely together that it became, after a while, a point that you couldn't talk about Narcisse without talking about Ryan, and vice versa. They were always so close. They were always so close that they talked almost every single day. And it was also to a point where if we had to travel somewhere, we always planned that Narcisse would come with us. He had become, over the last 15 years, our constant traveling companion. So if we were going to go somewhere, we always just assumed that Narcisse was coming with us. I pretty much traveled the world with my uncle at this point. We've been to so many places that without Ryan and Narcisse's work together and my work, I never would have seen. Narcisse had this way about him that he could just make you happy just by being around him. And he also had a very calming presence about him. I used to be really, really afraid of flying, and we went to Australia, and it just so happened that my daughter and I were sitting next to Narcisse on the plane, and Ryan was somewhere else on the plane, I don't know where. But it was an 18-hour flight, and so, being that I was such a poor air traveler, just sitting with Narcisse helped me a great deal. Helped me calm down a great deal. And we had so much fun on that trip together, and so many other trips as well. He made friends wherever he went. People were just drawn to him. And he always had a smile on his face. He was always so kind and so funny. And he was always hungry. Everywhere we went, he would always find the best places to eat, and we would go there with him to wherever it was that he wanted to eat. So whenever we traveled, we were always very well fed. Because Narcisse just loved food. And a lot of times he would send me pictures of something that he ate. Sometimes he would just text me pictures of things, or he'd put them on Facebook and he'd tag me, and it would just be something that he ate somewhere. Just because of how much he loved food. And it wasn't just a love of food, it was, he had a great love of life. He always had something going on. He was always going somewhere or doing something, and he always had a story to tell. He always had something interesting to say. In a lot of ways, Ryan and I, our lives would not be where they are without Narcisse. Because of Narcisse, Ryan became the head of the Kind Studies department. And Narcisse believed that Ryan could do something special with it, and he did. Ryan and Narcisse together grew that department to being something really great. And no matter who said that you can't do it, or people that didn't believe in it, and Narcisse always said, no, this is about being Blackfoot. It's not just a cultural component to something. This is a way of life. And that's what it became. Ryan and I, we pretty much live our work because of Narcisse in a lot of ways. Narcisse helped us so much in achieving the things that we wanted to achieve. Ryan and Narcisse always had new ideas. They were always bouncing things off each other, and it was great to watch them together because they had so much energy, and you could just feel it in the room like electricity. Watching the two of them speak together was like nothing I've ever seen. The two of them speaking together, it was special. And they did such great work together. Narcisse wasn't really the kind of guy to write things down, so his talks were always different, but he always had something great to say. He was a real teacher, and he really did live his work, and he helped us to learn how to live our work, because work and being Blackfoot and being human were not separate to him. A lot of people compartmentalize their lives into work, social life, family life, married life. All of these things are separate to them, and then their religious life or cultural life. But Ryan and Narcisse made all of that into their everyday lives. They lived being Blackfoot. They lived their work. Everything that Narcisse did was to help the future of Blackfoot people. He wanted to leave something really good for the people in the future, for our great-grandchildren. And I believe he has done that. His life was cut way too short. He still had so much more to teach and so much more to do. But he left behind a great legacy. And I think now it's part of our duty to live up to that legacy as his relatives and the people that are still here. It's important for us to carry on that work and to carry on being Blackfoot so that it's never lost. Narcisse really was a great man.
Narcisse and I work so closely and travel so often together that Frank Weaselhead would sometimes refer to me as Narcisse Jr. One time when I was at the office at Red Crow, I got this phone call, and it was Al Gore's people. And they had heard about Narcisse and what a charismatic speaker he was, and they wanted to recruit him to come to Montreal for 2 days to go through a workshop with Al Gore and David Suzuki and learn about climate science so that he could travel to different First Nations communities and talk about it, talk about global warming and these kind of things. And so I gave him Narcisse's number, and they phoned him at home, and Narcisse told him, well, normally when I go around and I do talks, I have Ryan with me, and we kind of, we're a good team, and we both talk together. And they said, well, there's only so many seats in this workshop, and most people have to compete for them. We only really need to bring you. You're the one that we're looking for. And Narcisse told him, well, if you're not willing to bring Ryan, then I don't really want to participate. So then they relented, and they said, all right, they would bring me. But they sent us an email subsequently, and the email said that because everybody else had to compete, yes, our seats were already guaranteed, we were being recruited into this, but they still wanted to get the same kind of paperwork from us as they got from everybody else. So they wanted us to write just a one-pager about why we wanted to participate in this workshop. So I set about and wrote my one-pager and sent it in. A few weeks later, I got a phone call from them, and they were getting ready to arrange our travel. And they said, we received your one-pager, but we never received Narcisse's. And without the paperwork, we can't bring him, so we're just going to bring you. And I told them, well, if you're not willing to bring Narcisse, then I don't really want to participate. So they brought Narcisse. And so, that's how the two of us ended up spending a couple of days with Al Gore and David Suzuki.
Narcisse had this way about him. He was always so happy. Could be having a really bad day, and as soon as you'd see him, you'd forget about all that, and he'd always find a way to make you laugh. When we traveled together, we always had a lot of fun with him. He always somehow seemed to know the best places to go and eat, even though we'd never been anywhere, been to that place before. He'd just somehow know Narcisse loved food. And so he would always somehow just find the place to eat. And I don't know if it was the food or if it was just because we were having such a good time. Narcisse always said, being Blackfoot is a way of life. It's not a label. It's not a thing you do on the weekend. It's something that you do every day, and you live every day. And it was something that Ryan and Narcisse just really understood and helped me to understand. And the ways that they used to just bounce ideas off of each other. Listening to the two of them speak together, it was amazing. Narcisse had so many friends. He could make friends with anybody. He was just that kind of person that so many people were always drawn to him. And they were always interested in everything that he had to say. He was a genuinely caring person. And he cared about everyone that he knew. And he was really proud of the work that he had done throughout his life and the things that he was involved in. And he was proud of his children. He was always proud of his children. Sometimes when we would go and Ryan and Narcisse would do a talk in Browning or something, and I'd go with them to go and watch. He would talk about the things that he had taught his children and how proud he was of them, of the kind of person that, kind of people that they turned out to be, and that his children were living a real Blackfoot life.
Oki tatsiki stomach. It's been such a pleasure, such an amazing learning experience, journeying with you the last couple of decades, watching you grow as an artist, as a Blackfoot scholar. You were always such an amazing storyteller. And I remember when you started looking for other tools, other ways of sharing those stories. I remember when you delved really deeply into photography and then videography, and before you knew it, you were a full-blown filmmaker. I don't know if you were aware, but all the while you were a performance artist. I mean, every time that you and I got up in front of a crowd to do a presentation, even in the classroom, that was art, and you were very, very good at it. You were so charismatic, and the message that you were sharing, the messages that you were sharing were so inspiring. People wanted to hear you speak again and again. I was recently asked by a reporter about Narcisse Blood, the artist, and the thing that came to my mind was that while you were doing all of these other things, foremost, you were an artist of relationships, because you never wanted to do these things alone. You wanted to collaborate. You know, you weren't just into telling your own stories. You were bringing your family and your friends in on it and saying, let's tell some stories together. And so, you know, you looked around at what all of us were doing and you found the best parts of it, and you encouraged those parts. You publicly praised us, and you lifted us up. You know, for a lot of us, you changed our lives dramatically. I wouldn't be the person who I am. I wouldn't be doing what I was doing if it wasn't for you bringing me in and saying, let's do this project together, that project together, and it was such a tremendous growth experience. I am really going to miss our collaborations, my friend. I know that you left a lot of your projects unfinished. I know that your collaborators, all of us who are working with you on these things, we're going to continue those. We're going to take them and continue with them. I just hope, for my part, that I'm going to remember the things that I learned from you, the important things, and that I'm going to be able to play that forward and help other people in the way that you helped us. I know I won't be able to do it as good as you, but you're a role model and a mentor, teacher, father, and you were my good friend. I miss you.